Hello, and welcome to this Hurricane Helene update. It is almost 10 o'clock, September 25th, and we have a now rapidly intensifying storm. Clearly see that. This is the latest satellite imagery here, and the predictions for the storm continue to get worse for Florida and Georgia in particular. So let's go to the latest Helene public advisory. Helene is likely to become a major hurricane tomorrow. Preparations to protect life and property. Sorry, my mistake there. Life and property along the Florida Big Bend coast should be rushed to completion. It's going to be very dangerous. As of 7 p.m., its location 23 north, 86.6 west, about 430 miles southwest of Tampa, Florida, about 475 miles south-southwest of Apalachicola, Florida. Maximum sustained winds are 85 miles an hour, moving north at 12 miles an hour. Minimum central pressure, 974 millibars to 8.76 inches. We have a storm surge warning in effect for Mexico Beach, eastward and southward to Flamingo, Tampa Bay, and Charlotte Harbor. A hurricane warning is in effect from Anclote River to Mexico Beach, Cabo Catoche to Tulum, Mexico, including Cozumel. And a hurricane watch is in effect for the Cuban province of Pinar del Rio and Inglewood to Anclote River, including Tampa Bay. Her tropical storm warnings in effect for Florida Keys. Look at all these areas that are being affected. This is going to be a large storm. We'll read the discussion here. At 7 p.m., the center of Hurricane Helene was located near latitude 23 north, longitude 86.6 west. Helene is moving toward the north near 12 miles an hour, northward or northeastward motion at a faster forward speed is expected during the next 36 hours. So it's going to pick up strength and it's going to pick up speed. On the forecast track, Helene will move across the eastern Gulf of Mexico tonight and Thursday, and across the Florida Big Bend coast Thursday evening. After landfall, Helene is expected to turn northwestward and slow down over the Tennessee Valley on Friday and Saturday. So there could be some issues with flooding with heavy rain. Maximum sustained winds are near 85 miles an hour with higher gusts, strengthening as forecast, and Helene is expected to be a major hurricane when it reaches the Florida Big Bend coast Thursday evening. So we're just a day away from landfall, but this thing's going to strengthen pretty rapidly. Weakening is expected after landfall, but Helene's fast forward speed will allow strong damaging winds, especially in gusts, to penetrate well inland across the southeastern United States, including over the higher terrain of the southern Appalachians. So this is going to be a big problem for Georgia. Hurricane force winds extend outward up to 25 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 345 miles from the center. This is a big storm. So the effects of it, this cone is kind of misleading. The effects are going to go well beyond this cone. Well beyond it. You can see the hurricane warning in effect for much of Florida, but also tropical storm warnings now in effect even into the South Carolina coast, all of Florida coast. This is going to be a large storm. This is a large storm, and it's only going to get larger and stronger. It's going to be similar to Sandy because it's interacting with that low inland that's going to sort of act to almost give it a little more energy. It'll be like a catalyst for this thing to get even stronger than it already is, which is pretty amazing. But that's what's going to be happening. If we look at the Florida coast, you can see, look at how far these hurricane warnings extend inward. I think they extend into Georgia. Hurricane warnings in effect for Georgia, well into Georgia here. Much of the state of Georgia under a hurricane warning. And then north of that, we've got tropical storm warnings. So you can see the large area that's going to be affected by this storm. And you can see all these areas here that are going to be affected well inland. And we already have flash flood warnings posted because the rain is already making its way inland. We're going to look at the radar now. Obviously, for our area, we just had a few light showers, but you can see the heavy rain already that's affecting North Carolina and Western Virginia. And look at that. It's absolutely pouring in Georgia right now. And the main storm isn't even here yet. This is the storm. The storm is all the way down here. So this is just tropical moisture that's sort of being headed. They're going to get a ton of rain. So while we're not getting any rain, they are going to get absolutely drenched. Probably record amounts of rainfall and probably a lot of terrible flooding over there as well. We're going to go look at the enhanced satellite, and you see again it's strengthening pretty rapidly. Yep, see those blow-ups right around the center there? That's a rapidly strengthening hurricane, and like I said, it's going to be picking up speed for sure. It's definitely going to be picking up speed. So if we look at some of the observations in this area here, we'll just see if we can get some observations. Is that a tornado warning? Well, that looks like a tornado warning. That little triangle right there. It says there's nothing there. That looks like a tornado warning. It's saying flash flood warning, but it looks like there's a flash flood and a tornado warning in this area. We're going to look at some of the radars as well. You can see this is pretty juiced up air, very humid, obviously. Plenty of moisture. You can see we got east wind. Nothing too crazy. Actually, there's some wind gusts. Here's a strong wind gust at Everglades Airport, up to 40 miles an hour. But things are going to get a lot worse. This is where the storm is. There's not really any buoys. We'll be looking at this tomorrow, obviously. Things are going to get a lot worse. And the storm surge is also going to be a problem, too, even all over Florida, because it's such a large storm. It is such a large storm. So this is going to be a bad, bad situation for this part of Florida and Georgia, too. So just because you're inland doesn't mean you're going to be avoiding the worst for this storm, and you can see it's pretty massive. So I want to go to the satellite again. We're going to see if we can get a southeast satellite image here, so this will kind of show Helene. And we'll also look at some more radars from this area too. So this is kind of showing you the outer bands of Helene now, making their way across Florida. You can see there's definitely tropical moisture here, streaming into Georgia here. You can definitely see that. Some heavy rain all throughout in this whole area here. We can also put this on the flash intensity too, and you can see all the lightning that we have that we're going to be seeing too as well. So yeah, quite a bit of lightning as well here. So a lot of thunderstorm activity in this area. And again, we have some. If we look at the radar here, you can see the storms that we have, and they're stretching into Roanoke too. And one of these might have a tornado warning with it too. So one of these, but that's something that will also probably have to be watched on the right side of the storm. Tornado watches and the chances for tornadoes as this interacts with the land, especially in the right side of the storm. You have a tendency to see that. So yeah, pretty massive storm, and we'll look at the CONUS satellite view as well. Just give you the CONUS satellite view, show you what we got going on here. It's very slow, obviously. We'll go to the models next. Actually, we'll go to the spaghetti models while waiting for that satellite. The satellite site is very slow. But you see the track, they're pretty certain on the track, but some of the remnants, once it gets stuck over here, it's going to sit in this area for a while. And that's what we're concerned about rainfall. But you can see the track, pretty straightforward. But again, this is misleading. This is going to affect a large area. It's a large storm. That cone map that the Hurricane Center shows, this is a much wider spot. It just shows the center of the storm, but this is going to affect a much wider area than that. All right. And if we look at the intensity models, you can see now a lot of them bring it up to Category 3, but some of them may think it might landfall, as I've read it. Some models think saying Category 4, perhaps. I don't know about that, but it's definitely going to be a 3. That's for sure. So we'll look at the CONUS satellite view. Did it ever load? I don't think it ever loaded. Yeah, it never loaded. We'll try it again. Yep, it seems like the satellite site is down again. We've been having a lot of problems with it, so not the time for that. Or here we go. Finally, it worked. Just want to get a few. You see, here's Helene here. You can see the moisture is just streaming up. Meanwhile, it's dry. Oh, yeah, beautiful weather in the Midwest and much of the Rocky Mountain area. They have beautiful weather. We're kind of stuck in the clouds. You can see the stream of moisture from Helene here. A lot of this upper level moisture, but you can see it's being flung up, and then you've got this high that's trying to build down from eastern Canada. If we look at the weather map here, Let's go to the weather map. So kind of show what we got going on here. You can see what we have here. The setup here is a stall front, a low, and that Hurricane Helene is going to get drawn into that. And you can see we have a cold front coming tomorrow, and that front, it will move through. It sinks to the south on Friday as high pressure builds in and suppresses most of the rain from Helene. It won't really make it into our area. But if you do look at the QPF here, you'll see that they're going to be predicting a lot of rain over the next, let's do days 1 through 7 here. And you could see that some areas could see over a foot of rain. Even well inland, there's going to be a lot of very bad flooding in a lot of these states. Maybe it'll wake a lot of the people up about climate change because, again, this is what we're seeing here is not normal. It's not supposed to happen. What should happen, actually, is the remnants of Helene should make their way northeastward, and we should be getting some of that rain, but it's just going to get stuck because of the way the jet stream and the blocking pattern is, and that low. That's very unusual to see an atmosphere like this. So we go to the excessive rain. Obviously, you could see high risk for much of it looks like Georgia into western North Carolina, South Carolina. They have it the bullseye. It looks like over northeast Georgia. But still, Georgia is going to get hit very hard, and I know that I have meteorologist Joe Chaffee lives there, and he's going to, man, I'm hoping he'll be all right because it's going to be rough over there between the wind and the rain. I know he's in the mountains, but there could still be landslides, trees down, and things like that. The storm I don't think it's going to spare anyone in Georgia at all. This is going to be bad, and there's going to be a severe amount of, like I said, I think I think it's going to be more like maybe 2/3 of the state of Georgia is going to lose power. And as far as Florida goes, a lot of places are going to lose power in Florida too. This is going to be a bad storm. So let's go and look at some of the models now, and we'll take a look and show you what we have here on the GFS. We'll start with the eastern U.S. view here. And you'll see here, pretty much we've been showing you the storm just strengthens and then makes that landfall tomorrow night. That's right. It'll be like landfall a little less than 24 hours from now in Southwest Florida. It could wind up hitting. Again, there are some cities there like Tallahassee, and they could get hit very hard. And you can see how strong it is, even well into Georgia. Center might go right over Atlanta, so there's going to be a lot of damage to the power infrastructure in this area. There's going to be a lot of power outages. You can see how fast. The only saving rate, the bad thing is it's moving fast, but the good thing is it's moving fast. So it will hit quickly. It will be in and it will be out as far as most of the people in Georgia go. But there will be heavy rain and wind, and then you can see it kind of gets flung northwestward. Very unusual to see, flung northwestward into that low that's sitting over, is that Kentucky or whatever. It gets flung into that. Very unusual to see this kind of thing. And then the low is just going to kind of just sit there and rain itself out. And there's going to be a lot of rainfall in this area. And that's a big problem. You can see for us, we got that high. It's not quite as strong as originally modeled, so we may not actually wind up seeing that much sunshine this weekend, but it's still going to stay mainly dry. But we will be stuck in the clouds, I think. And maybe if you're in southern Jersey, maybe you'll pick up some rain from it. But this is just going to sit here, and there's going to be a lot of rain. So we're going to go and look at the rainfall amounts through 06Z Monday, so through Sunday night. If we look at the total accumulated precip projections on the GFS, and you see those yellows there, that's where we're going to be getting over a foot of rain. So it's going to be absolutely devastating flooding in these areas. And it's very unusual, again, what we're seeing. And I bring this up, again, to explain to you why this is all happening. Let's look at the jet stream here. This is what we have. A jet stream is all way up in Canada. And there's just a low that's kind of cut off here. The jet stream just kind of pinches off right there, creates that cutoff, and then swings Helene northwestward. Very unusual setup. Really unusual. Completely abnormal. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this before. Here's the upper air. I kind of showed this to you yesterday. You can see how it just catches it and flings it northwestward. And you got this huge ridge in eastern Canada. It just kind of blocks it. So this is the problem that we're dealing with, and I pray for the people in the areas affected by this. This is going to be a wake-up call, I think, to a lot of people who deny what's happening with this planet. If this isn't, I don't know what will be. This is very, very unusual, very disturbing, and we're going to go back and look at some more of the models here. We're going to go to the Southeast U.S. view, and we're going to look. This is the look at that. That's incredible. But we are going to be looking at the winds on this. We will also be looking at the 700 to 300 humidity as well to show where the dry air is. You can see the dry air on the backside of the storm. That will help cut off the precipitation in Georgia. But where this storm gets stuck, it's still going to be raining. And so that's the issue. So even if you're in Kentucky, yeah, you're going to be dealing with a lot of problems even there too. It's going to be very bad. It's going to be a really bad situation. We're going to look now at the wind. So let's go to the wind here. Show you the wind on the GFS. And we'll go and look at some more of the short-range models too. But you can see here that is going to be a heck of a storm there, even well inland. Really wrapped up. There's going to be a lot of power outages in these areas. All right, so now let's go to the HRRR run. I wish there was a somewhat closer. Is there a closer? Let's just see if there is a closer view of this area. Don't know if there is. We've got to go to the regions. Where is the regions? There it is. It's being covered up. Let's see if we can get a little closer here. Not really. That's the closest one we can get. Okay, so here's the HRRR. See that rain is just going to be continuing. And here is the center. And you can see it continuing to drop, the pressure dropping until it makes that landfall. Sometime around 24 hours from now, it's going to make that landfall into Florida and then get flung into Georgia here. There's the center of it. And you can see how the pressure is very slow to rise in the center of it. And that is because it's getting energy from this cutoff flow. And that again, that's really unusual. But the precip will cut off in Georgia. But you can see how it's going to just linger around in this area here, the southern Appalachians. So this is the problem that we have to worry about. And if we look at the HRRR as far as total accumulated rainfall, let's see what this has. And you can see here, obviously it's hard to say exactly where it's going to happen, but you can see some areas are going to see a foot of rain or more. And most of Georgia is going to see at least 5 inches or 6 inches of rain out of this. At least. In fact, we can go over here and see how much rain has already fallen just today alone, because I think there's been quite a bit. Yep. So we already have some reports of 2, 3, 4 inches of rain. There's going to be terrible flooding, probably the worst flooding in the history of the state of Georgia with this storm. Even though it's quick moving, it's just going to be a tremendous amount of rain. The likes I don't know if we've ever seen. The only thing, and you can see how that flooding is going to make its way north as well. And there's going to just be tons and tons of rain. You can see the arc shows up so nicely on this too, so nicely. If I take the regions off to eastern U.S., you'll see how we just barely get anything out of it. So it just kind of shows you how this is all playing out. Let's go back to the southeast one, and we will go, and I'll use a different model to show the winds versus this one, because it doesn't do it in the miles an hour, and I don't like that. So, but we will go next to the NAM model. And we have the 18Z NAM we can look at. The precipitation, and also showing a lot of areas getting over a foot of rain. That's insane. We'll go ahead and look at this. Show you the radar signature again. You can see that landfall again. That just keeps tightening up. The NAM is even deeper. That's insane. Look at how deep and tight it stays well into Georgia. It's just incredible to see. So that's why I think that I'd say 2/3 of Georgia is going to lose power. If you live in Georgia, I think there's a good chance you're going to be losing power by this time tomorrow. It gets further along into Georgia by Friday morning, but I mean, this is just an intense storm here, and there's just going to be a lot of rain with this thing. It really is incredible to see. So with that, we are going to go into some of the other models here. We'll go to Ventus Sky so we can better visualize the wind impact on Georgia and Florida, obviously, as well as the wave impact as well. So we're going to go to wind gusts, and you can watch this thing just take off. Here we go. So move this into tomorrow. By 7 o'clock tomorrow, what model is this using? It only has... That's tomorrow? It's going to be stronger than that. This thing is not working right. What model is this thing using? The Icon plus HRRR? Yeah, I think it's going to be stronger than this. So this is low end. This is not. It's going to be way stronger than this. No, I'm not buying that at all. Let's switch this to the GFS. Wind gusts. Wow, it's only having it that strong. That's. I thought it would be a little stronger than that. I think it's underestimating it. I really do. I think this model is... Let's... we don't have the NAM on here. All right. We'll switch over to windy.com. I think this is... These models are way underestimating. I'm going to go back to the automatic mode here. This is the automatic mode here. Here we have. I think it's going to be stronger than this, honestly. But the key is when it gets inland, it's still going to be pretty strong. Here we are inland, and you can still see dealing with these winds. And that's why you have the hurricane warning well inland, which is something you don't usually see with this, and that's what makes it so unusual. Friday, move this into Friday, and you can see this thing's going to be moving along pretty quickly. But I think this model, underestimating it. So, windy.com, we'll go over there, and we'll go ahead and look at that one. No, not Worldview. No, windy.com. Windy.com. All right. This uses the European model, and this one might be a little better at picking up the strength. You can see here the storm here. So let me go. We'll switch this to wind gusts, which gives us a better idea. This is more like what's going to be happening. So you can see the wind gusts here. Yeah, well over 100 miles an hour. So definitely going to be a Category 3, maybe even a Category 4. I don't know about a Category 4, but I think it'll definitely be a Category 3. But it could always surprise us, and you can see those very strong winds, and you can see even once it makes its way inland, how you're still going to be dealing with these really strong winds, even inland gusts over 90 miles an hour here. Atlanta's somewhere in here. Can't seem to find Atlanta. Where are you, Atlanta? Here you are. So Atlanta looks like maybe on the west side there, but still dealing with some very strong winds here. These wind gusts as it makes its way northward here, so... Really strong winds are going to stay. You're going to have two major things that are going to hit you inland, the wind and also a lot of rain. There's also a thing called wind accumulation, which is kind of an interesting thing here. Let's see if we can change the times on this. Can we move this to... Doesn't let us move it. Okay. So... Now we're going to go and look at some of the other models because this model, this site lets us view the NAM. All right, so let's go and look at the NAM, which I'm sure is, yeah, look at the NAM. Yeah, the NAM is even really, the NAM's the one that takes us up to a Category 4. I mean, this may be a little overdone, but this would be the worst case scenario. I don't think we'll see it, but you could definitely see here the kind of wind that would be brought inland and and if this were to verify, it would be definitely a record. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but that's what the NAM looks like. All right. This is the HRRR, which is definitely on the lower end of things. I think a little too low, in my opinion. So you have to kind of go in between the two, you know. Euro seems to be at that happy medium at this point. But the other issue, of course, you're going to have to deal with waves as well. So just change this to the waves here, the ocean. This is going to affect a large area. So this kind of shows you what I'm talking about here. The large area that's going to be affected by this thing. Look at some of these waves that they're going to have a lot. Even if you're down in Cape Coral and Tampa, you're going to be dealing with some pretty bad flooding along the coast. It's going to be pretty bad. And I think that hopefully they're doing the right thing in evacuating all the low-lying areas along the whole west coast of Florida pretty much. Are going to be affected by this thing. It's going to race in. And even if you're on the East Coast, you're going to be dealing with some of it as well. It's just going to race in. and cause a lot of problems. And this is going to be definitely one of the worst. This may be the worst hurricane of the season. This will be the worst hurricane of the season so far. But the season's not done yet, so I can't say what could happen in the future. But so far, this is going to be really bad, a really bad situation here. 30-foot waves coming into the shore there. It's going to be really bad. And you can see the cities that Tallahassee is going to get hit very hard here. Gainesville maybe also. All the cities, Albany, Georgia, all these cities are going to get hit very, very hard. Probably have complete loss of power. I'd be surprised if any power stays on with this storm. Those kind of winds that it's just going to develop. So going back to tidbits here. So this is what we have with the storm, and I'll just briefly touch on our weather, very briefly, because obviously I'm focused more on Helene. So we'll go and switch this over to the HRRR. Well, we're in the NAM, so we'll show you the NAM for precipitation now, and you see the deal. Not showing a whole lot of rain, light rain, and then that little line that the NAM was developing kind of just fizzles into almost nothing tomorrow night. So unfortunately, it's not really showing a whole lot of rain for us. And as we go into the weekend, it's going to be a battle between this high and some of the moisture that's going to try to make its way in from the southwest. And honestly, that's something that we'll talk about after we're done, I think, with tracking Helene. But I'll just look at the HRRR next. HRRR, maybe a little more promising for some rain showers tomorrow, perhaps. No, not really. It shows some developing, but you see, you got this front that's going to be very slow to move through, and so it even shows some light shower activity even Friday, very, very light. But either the case is, if we looked at the total accumulated precip here on the HRRR, you could see just barely anything. Maybe someone will be lucky enough to get maybe 0.2 an inch of rain, maybe. But this might be the driest month on record at Islip at this point. I know that some areas did get some rain today. If we go to our area, look at the precipitation, you'll see that it shows up in here. While we're waiting for that, I'll look at the dew points and wind flow on the HRRR for our area and just show you what we have setting up. So tomorrow we have more of a southerly flow. The humidity comes up. That may help bring a chance of a shower or maybe even a thunderstorm tomorrow. But then the front kind of comes through late tomorrow night, and then the wind shift to the east. We have that easterly wind, and then the warm front to the south. So this might keep things kind of gloomy on Friday. Temperatures. Obviously tomorrow will be warmer with the warmer air coming through. Though for our area, I don't think it'll be all that warm. 70s though. Jersey could see 80 perhaps. But other than that front kind of sags to the south. And then Friday winds up being much cooler again with temperatures in the 60s, except for maybe southern Jersey where the front doesn't make it through. Now, of course, the models have different opinions on where that front winds up. GFS pushes it further to the south. Here's the GFS. Actually, no, they're pretty much in agreement here. And they have this front just kind of hung up here Saturday. And I'm concerned with the warm front kind of stuck like that. It may be gloomy on Saturday. I may even have to deal with some sucky drizzle. I really hope not. But that's that kind of setup certainly not good for any sunshine, that's for sure. And we'll have plenty of clouds with the setup like that, obviously. And I could show you this. You can see we're going to be stuck in the clouds. These clouds aren't going anywhere. Even Sunday, it's just stuck in the clouds all weekend. We're supposed to have some sunshine this weekend. So now, after all those sunny days, we got to pay for it with all these cloudy days in a row. So that's what happens when the weather gets stuck. Here's the RJAM, by the way. So this is the RJAM. You can see the RJAM here. So that front just kind of sits there, and we deal with what may be gloomy weather for the weekend here. And like I said, it might even be some wet weather if some of the models are correct with that. Of course, the NAM, I go with the GFS again. The GFS doesn't really show. It does show a little something. So we're going to have to see what happens. But with it stuck like that, we may be dealt. But we're going to talk more about that Friday night. I'm more focused on what's going on in Helene right now. All right. So we're going to go back to the southeast and let's look at some radars from this area here. Enough about our weather because it's just going to be dull and boring and unfortunately gloomy. But if we go to NWS, NWS Tallahassee. Let's see, they get the radar from there, right? Because you can see what's going on. We got the major hurricane there. You can see all these flash flood warnings. So this is the radar. You got all these different radars here they're showing. You can see the heavy, heavy rain that's just over that area right now. So all these different radars they have that you can look at here, and you can see these heavy rain, thunderstorms here. Definitely already seeing the flooding, and the hurricane isn't even there yet. Oh, and there are other areas that have to be watched. If we go to the see, there's another area here that's got a 70% chance. Another area over here with a 40% chance. Yeah, so there's a number of areas that have to be watched for tropical activity. It took a little while for the tropical. Again, these are your models here. Cat 3, a lot of them, but again, it's possible some of them could get. It could be a Cat 4. And I'm not so sure if that's what's going to happen or not, but it's all a big issue. All right. And again, looking at the setup here on Tropical Tidbits, we'll look at a few more models here. We'll go to the European model, 12Z. And here's the 12Z Euro. And you can see they're pretty much in agreement as to what's going to happen with this storm. It's going to be bad. For our area, that's still kind of a mystery at this point. But you can see the Euro kind of, with that, we're on the edge of that. So it could be we could have to deal with some gloomy weather on the weekend. But, we have to pay for all those nice days. But, hey, at least we're not dealing with Helene. Though, again, this is not what's supposed to happen. This is very abnormal. What should happen is Helene should come. It might have gone up the west side of the Appalachians. It probably would have, but that would have been more of a normal setup, and then we would have at least gotten some rain out of it and then gotten it over with. But because of the blocking high and the jet stream being all screwed up, this is what happens, and this is what's very bad about it. And you can see we just got this damn blocking high here, and that's the problem. That's been the problem for a while now with the weather. It's got everything just screwed up. And hopefully, maybe as we get in October, it'll break down. But other than that, we have the icon here as well. So I'll show you the icon at 18Z with that as well. You can see icon looks a lot stronger with that high. So, well, I have to see what happens with that high. It's very hard to predict right now. And again, I'm more concerned about what's going to be happening with Helene at this point. We have a lot of, actually, let's go and look at the sea surface temperatures in this area where it is moving over. We'll go to Earth, null school, and we'll take a look at the sea surface temperatures here. Ocean, sea surface temperature anomalies. Yeah, it's above normal, all right. It's above normal. It's actually 3.7 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. See what that thing says there? 3.7 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. So that puts us at, we look at the actual temperature, that water temperature, sea surface temperature is 86.2. And you can see the purples there. So it's got a lot of warm water to work with. You got the combination of the warm water and then the energy from that cutoff. So this is what's going to make this storm a monster, and the large area that it's going to cover. So I'm just pray for everybody in this area, because it's going to be a really rough situation, and it's only going to get worse as we head into tomorrow. Conditions will rapidly deteriorate, and we'll talk more. I'll keep updating on this storm, obviously. Let's see if we got an update from the Hurricane Center. That was as of 4. It's the latest public advisory, 7. Don't they have one at 10? So it's after 10 o'clock now. All right. Well, that's going to be it for now. I'll keep you updated on this storm. I'll try to do another one tomorrow morning, perhaps, or later tonight. Probably tomorrow morning, and then tomorrow evening as this thing makes landfall. So This is going to be a really bad situation. Again, this is going to be one of the worst. We're going to see stuff that I don't think we've seen before yet. So another record-setting storm, probably likely. So have a good night.